everyone. Again, I just want to say welcome. My name is Kim Meadows. I am the training director here with NAWDP. I have been in this position for about a year and a half and super excited to have you all here with me today as we talk about developing your learning plan. Just buckle up. We have a lot of information to unpack in our time together here today. And so I just want to start off by talking a little bit about NAWDP. In case this is your first time being on a NAWDP webinar or hearing about NAWDP, I just want to just mention what our mission and what our vision and what our values are throughout the organization. So NAWDP, the National Association of Workforce Development Professionals, we are a membership association. We have about 4,500 members throughout different capacities and different organizations within workforce development. But you see our mission and our vision and our values here, but we really have three pillars at NAWDP, and that's connect, advance, and innovate. So we really want to connect workforce professionals, and we do that in a variety of ways, including conferences and other networking opportunities. We'll talk about that a little bit more. We want to advance the profession, and we do that by providing professional development. And then also we want to innovate the profession. So we do that by sharing best practices and promising practices. We really love to hear what people are doing out in the field and be able to share that. And so we do a session every month. It's called 30 Minutes of Excellence. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But with our 30 Minutes of Excellence sessions, that's really our opportunity to share those best practices with other people who are in the workforce development field. But our vision is to be a leading advocate for workforce development professionals, and our values are really to build relationships and connections, to challenge and collaborate for advancement, to embrace and drive change, to inspire thought, leadership, and innovation. And here at NAWDP, we believe that service is everything. So again, that's a little bit about NAWDP. You can find out more information about NAWDP on our webpage, and that's www.nawdp.org. So that's a little bit about us. And so, like I said, I am the training director here at NAWDP, and so I am involved or coordinate a lot of our training opportunities and professional development opportunities. So one of the things that we did at the end of last year was we did a survey. We did a survey of our members and non-members, but we did a survey of what your learning goals were for 2024. So I just want you to look at this list. I just compiled this list, and I want you to look at the list, and we will do a poll in a moment. But what do you think was the top learning goal identified? So we had about 200 people and they were able, it was open-ended, so we didn't like give them a list and tell them this is what you can choose from. It was open-ended, so they could put in anything that they wanted. So as you see the list here, what do you think it was the number one learning goal? You can just type this into the chat. What do you think was the number one learning goal? Okay, so I see DEIA strategies, DEIA. So Anna says, what is DEIA? Great question. I should have written that out, but it's diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. So those strategies to ensure equity throughout programs. So most people are saying AI. And guess what? You are correct. The top 10, our top 10 learning goals when we launched the survey was learning how to use artificial intelligence. So when we get these learning goals, when we do these surveys, we don't just do the surveys to have random information. Like we really want to be intentional about the trainings that we offer. So given that this was one of or the top learning goal, we will be doing a summer learning series on this specific topic. So using AI was the number one learning goal of our NAWDP members, but number two was leadership, a very close number two, by the way, was leadership. So really, how do we develop those leadership skills within our workforce development leaders? We had a lot of interest in learning more about apprenticeships. NAWDP is a part of the Center of Excellence, which is one of the grants that we have that provides technical assistance for apprenticeship. So all of that technical assistance is free. And it's like I said, it's provided through a grant, so we are a part of that. A lot of people wanted more information about youth services and career coaching skills, management, mental health. We hear that a lot, and even the Department of Labor has initiatives now that revolve around mental health in the workplace. So that has been one of the top learning goals. LMI and data informed decision making. So a lot of people said that. And again, remember I said we didn't have this in a list where people just checked off what they wanted. This was open ended, and I kind of categorized it afterward. But LMI and data informed information was another one that was very popular. Working with returning citizens and then working with English language learners and immigrants. So that rounded out our top 10. So I'm going to do a quick poll as you're looking at this. Are any of those top 10 that was in our survey, are any of those your learning goals? So if it is, you can check more than one, you can just check off on it, or if you're able to see the poll. And I'll just give you a couple of quick seconds to see, are there any other, or are any of these in your learning goals for this year? Just maybe another couple of seconds. Oh, great participation. We have 75% of our attendees participate. So we're almost at 100%. That's exciting. Sometimes you get on webinars, you never know if people are listening or not. All right, here we go. So I'm going to end the poll and I will kind of show you what the results were. So again, using AI, using artificial intelligence, people have leadership as their goal, apprenticeship. So okay, so it lines up a lot with what we have here as our top 10. Are there any other learning goals that you have that are not on the screen that you have? And I'll tell you a couple more that were on our survey. You can type yours in onto the screen, but we had several people to talk about they wanted more to learn more about time management skills. Also, how to run productive meetings. We saw that come up a lot, right? So we always see the memes of this meeting could have been an email, and it's really, are our meetings productive? So we had a lot of people reach out about that. And then also earning your CWDP, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. So I see Darius says soft skills. Anna says building community partnerships and certification programs for you, training, engaging, industry engagement, and intern programs. So those are all really good. And I love doing this Learning Goals webinar at the beginning of the year because it gives us a starting place, right? So a lot of people don't do New Year's resolutions anymore. A lot of people say I don't have resolutions, but I have goals. So really gives us a starting place of when we're thinking about our learning objectives and our learning goals for next year or this upcoming year. So our agenda for today. So I put together, some resources, some different things that I wanted to highlight on our webinar today. The first thing I wanted to do is to just talk about what a learning plan is. What is a learning plan? And then I wanted to give you some opportunities to develop your learning plan and think about your learning plan, and also look at some learning opportunities that we have through NAWDP. And I want to show you some other learning resources that are available, and we're going to close it out by talking about our Certified Workforce Development Professional Credential, which is the credential that we have through NAWDP. And then also, I'm going to give you some ways to stay connected with us. So that is our jam-packed agenda for today. So let's jump in. So really quick, what is a learning plan? A learning plan is a document, and that word in itself is really important, but it's a document used for learning, learning development over a period of time, and is used by individuals to plan and manage their own learning. Oh, that's supposed to say learning, not leaning. So in the chat box, you can just type yes or no. Do you have a learning plan? Do you have a written learning plan? Or is it kind of, unintentional of, if I happen to see a webinar of something that I may want to take, I'll sign up for that webinar? Or do you have a very specific learning plan? So, right, it looks like about half and half right now. I see yeses and nos, yes, nos. I see a no, not yet. That's funny. No, I have one my employer provides, but it's not individualized. That's good. One of the things that I love about a learning plan, and when we think about a learning plan, you can also think about it as like a budget. So when we do our budget, if you do a budget either monthly or bi-weekly, however you get paid, when you do that budget, you don't just do that budget one time for the whole year and you're done, right? You have to go back and look at that budget and make sure you're staying on track. So think of a learning plan as the same way. So you want to be very intentional about what you put in your learning plan. What do you want to learn? How are you going to learn those things? But you don't want to have it as a document that you just start and you don't refer back to it. So it's what we call a living document. It's not just one and done. You're always going back, you're always updating. And as you're starting your learning plan and throughout your learning opportunities, you're probably going to add other things to your learning plan that weren't there before. So make sure you think of your plan as like your learning plan as a budget, something that you're going to continue to come back to, and that it's a living document. So you always want to make updates. You always want to be able to hold yourself accountable. Okay, so let's look at some of the steps to developing a learning plan. So the first step in developing a learning plan is to think about what your learning goal is. What are your learning objectives? Is there something specific that you want to learn? And I also like to tie it to what's your motivation for doing that? Right? So if you have a learning objective, if you also tie a motivation to why you want to do it, it'll help keep you motivated throughout this learning plan. So some examples of motivation may be you may have this learning objective because it's going to make your job more efficient. So a lot of times when we're thinking about using technology and using AI, we're really thinking about how is this going to help my job seekers, or how is this going to make my job more efficient, or my organization more efficient. So you've already pictured how it's going to be more efficient. So that's your motivation. Another motivation may be a new learning something new may give you the opportunity to get promoted, or it may put you in line to have a raise. So that may be a motivation. Sometimes it's just personal development. So, we talked about time management earlier. That helps relieve stress when you're able to manage your time, right? So that's going to be motivating for you. And sometimes you just want to expand your knowledge and skills. So and it might maybe other reasons that you're motivated as well. But when you identify that learning objective, then write out beside it what your motivation is for that. So if you're taking notes or jotting things down, write down maybe one learning objective that you have for the upcoming year, and what's your motivation behind that learning objective. If you want to share it in the chat, please feel free to do so. We'll have a little time at the end as well, as you want if you want to continue thinking about it. And I will share with you one of my learning objectives for the year. I'll share that at the end though. And so is you want to identify that learning objective. And then the next thing you want to do is break that objective down into smaller goals. Okay, so you don't want to just say, I want to learn AI, but you want to have some specific things about AI or specific things about technology that you want to learn. And this is going to help you hold yourself accountable, and it's going to help you kind of check it off the list, right? So I always use the example of, you can say at the beginning of the year, my goal is to save money. And at the end of the year, you could have saved $5. And so technically you met that objective, right? But is that really what you wanted? So when you break it down into smaller goals, you may say, I want to save money, but I want to save $100 a month. When you break it down into goals, those smarter goals, those more specific goals, it's really going to help you hold yourself accountable. So identify your learning objective and motivation, break it down into smaller goals, develop your plan, take advantage of available resources. So this is where you really have the opportunity to be intentional. And I want to show you some different resources you can go in and look at. But sometimes when we're doing a learning plan, and we're thinking about what we want to learn, we don't go out and seek those learning opportunities. Sometimes we just kind of wait for them to fall into our lap, right? So we'll say, oh, well, if I happen to see a webinar that's on this specific topic, then I'll sign up for the webinar. But sometimes we don't necessarily go out and look for those opportunities. So I'm going to show you a couple of different websites on that. And then lastly, You want to hold yourself accountable. So you may have an accountability partner or you may not. But if you don't have an accountability partner, you will have to hold yourself accountable. So this is where that motivation comes back in. So beside that learning objective, you have written down your motivation. That's where it kind of comes back in of holding yourself accountable. So I'm gonna show you just a sample learning plan. So you can have this written out however you like. If I had it, if I was writing it out, I'm a writer. I love to write. I love to have different color markers and I love paper pencils. Some people love technology more, so they may create something on a spreadsheet. But this is just a sample learning plan of just a starting point. So number one, we want to talk about that learning objective. So I used what our top learning goal was this year of learning ways to incorporate AI and technology into workforce programs. So, if that's my learning objectives, let's think about how we can break that down into smaller goals. Okay, so that small maybe I want to find tools that I can use with my job seekers. So, maybe I've been using the same tools. I'm not really thinking outside of the box. So, my goal is to find tools that I can use with my job seekers. Another goal, maybe I want to learn how to use Chat GPT with my job seekers. So, maybe to help write cover letters or assist with resumes. And another goal, maybe I want to learn ways to streamline our intake process using technology. So I have my overall learning goal, and then I've broken it up into smaller goals where I'm able to actually go back and check it off the list and say, I'm holding myself accountable toward this larger goal. So if you jotted down your learning objective, if you jotted anything down on paper, just really quick, think about what are some smaller goals that you can do within that. I'll just give you a second to just think about it. So you have your learning objective. What are some smaller goals that you may be able to do that'll help hold you accountable? And again, I'll send everybody who's on the call or everybody who registered, I'll send you a copy of this PowerPoint so you can kind of go back through and make your learning plan your own. So once you develop those smaller goals, then you want to develop a plan. Okay. And so you may say, for instance, each Thursday, and I'm just using random, so it may be monthly for you, or it may be something that you do every day or every Monday and Friday. But for the purposes of this, I said each Thursday, I'm either going to read an article, I'm going to a blog post, or listen to a podcast on this topic. Right, and we can kind of look at our schedule and look at our calendars and pull aside 5 to 15 minutes to read an article, blog, or listen to our podcast. I know we're all really busy, and when you come into the office every day and you have your list of things to do, I would encourage you with your learning plan to block that time on your calendar. So put that on your calendar, even if it's 15 minutes once a week or 30 minutes once a week to specifically develop what you have deemed as a learning objective for you. Participate in webinars, workshops, conferences, those learning opportunities. And then also, I would say to be sure to plan ahead. So you don't want to be reactive, you want to be proactive. So a lot of times when we're thinking about conferences and webinars, for instance, this webinar was put on our website about a month earlier, right? So you can go ahead and start looking for those opportunities as you're building out your plan of what you want to do in February, what you want to do in March, what you want to do in April. And that way you already kind of have your plan developed as opposed to being reactive. So be proactive when you're thinking about developing your plan. Think about where are some of your available resources. So we live in an amazing age here of technology. We have access to so many different resources. So it's just really incumbent upon us to find those resources. Most of those resources are going to be free or very low cost, but a lot are going to be free. So, again, I would love for NAWDP to be a resource for you when it comes to training opportunities. LinkedIn Learning. If you're on LinkedIn, they have courses on LinkedIn that are free. Some require a subscription, but they also have a large majority learning courses that are free as well. So if you haven't checked out LinkedIn Learning, that is a great resource. Workforce GPS, that is a great resource. So just by just chatting into the box, yes or no, do you use Workforce GPS? If you're in the workforce profession, do you use Workforce GPS at all? So Naomi, hi Naomi says yes. I see yes. See a couple of yeses. Everybody is saying yes. Awesome. Oh, there are so many resources on Workforce GPS. So if you have not used Workforce GPS, definitely check that out. We'll look at that here in a moment. Books, online books, articles, magazines, blogs, podcasts. Um, I followed a lady that I met on LinkedIn. I'll never meet her in person. I'm sure she lives on the other side of the globe. But every Monday morning, she would write an article that had something to do with leadership. And she was in my network, even though I wouldn't necessarily meet her in person. She's in my network and she became a resource for me. So as you're thinking about, making those connections on LinkedIn or at conferences, really utilize your network as well. Is there anybody in your network who's already doing what your learning objective is that you can reach out to? All right. And then lastly, of course, we talked about hold yourself accountable, keep track of your trainings, what you're doing, keep track of it. Keep track of when you did it, when you learned it, if you networked with anybody, if you met anybody. We have again access to different organization tools now. So keep track of those things. But just as importantly as learning, you want to also implement what you learn, right? You don't want to just grab a lot of information and you have a lot of information that you're not doing anything with. So just think about how you are going to implement what you've learned. So if you jotted down what your training objective is, then I also want you to jot down what your how you think you can implement that learning. Okay, and Anna, I see you have a question. You have your hand raised. You wanna? You're on mute, Anna. You can take yourself off of mute, please.
Sorry, I took my hand down instead of hitting the unmute. It's fine. I was curious if you could elaborate if there are certain books, articles, magazines, blogs, podcasts. What would be some good workforce development oriented? Because I'm newer to this field to get started with.
So, and we'll go through some of this in a moment, but one of the blogs that I read is through Larry Robin. He did a summer learning series for us last year, but he has a lot of articles. He's actually right now writing an article for the NAWDP newsletter. So if you're subscribed to NAWDP, to the newsletter, he has a series of articles that he's doing. Again, I would also say go to LinkedIn. Go to LinkedIn Learning. You can join just different groups within LinkedIn Learning that are workforce development related, and you can kind of see. And it's really dependent on what focus you're on with your learning plan. But you can join groups on even Facebook or LinkedIn. You can join different online groups that are also workforce development related. Also within NAWDP, we have an online community. So you can come onto our online community if you're a member of NAWDP, and you can share information there, and you can link with other people who are within the organization. And then the other thing I would say would be use your network. So if you are on LinkedIn, and a lot of times the most of the people that I'm on LinkedIn with or we're connections, we're never going to meet face to face, right? But they have something either whether it's talking about leadership or talking about workforce development boards or whatever their niche is, and then I begin following them, and then based on that they may recommend different avenues to try as well. So once you start building that network, you'll just be amazed at how that network continues to build. And then you'll find that particular person or that particular blog or podcast that really speaks to you.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Right. And so again, all heard of SMART goals, and I'll just encourage you again when you're thinking about your goals, to make them SMART goals. So you don't want to just say, again, I want to learn about leadership. You want to be very specific, because I want to learn about leadership could mean I'm reading one article and that's it, right? So be very specific. What do you want to learn about leadership? Be sure that you're able to measure. How am I going to measure that I'm actually making strides in the right direction? Make sure your goal is attainable. So you saw earlier when I wrote developing my plan, and I'm going to do a podcast every Thursday. For some people that may not be attainable, right? You may not have that time available. So make sure whatever learning goal you pick and however you choose to do your learning, make sure that it's going to be something that's attainable. You don't want to frustrate yourself by having this learning goal and have all these different objectives, but you're not able to attain it just because of what your time capacity is. Make sure it's relevant. So all of the training and learning that you're doing, make sure it's relevant to what your learning objective is. And then also be sure that it is time based so that you have a clear beginning and a clear ending. Um, so, Anna, if you look into the chat box, and thank you, Yana, for putting Yana, I hope I'm saying your name right. She put in some information on a wonderful learning platform. And so you can copy that out of the chat box. And anybody else, yeah, that is a great idea. If anybody else, if you have any podcasts or any particular people that you are listening to right now that you want to share with Anna, you can go ahead and click that into the chat box and share with everybody else as well.
Anna was actually correct. It's Anna.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the virtual learning opportunities that we have coming up here at NAWDP. So like I said, we do what we call 30 minutes of excellence. We do that every month, and these are free webinars for members and non-members. So when you came to register for this particular webinar, you would have seen a list of all of our other webinars coming up, but this is really our time for peer-to-peer learning. So we have people who are actually out doing the work, and they've discovered promising practices, or they've done an innovative program, and we have them on. We do this the fourth Wednesday of every month. And you can come on and you can join us just like we're doing here today. And again, this is a great time to build your network, because one of the things that I've learned about our presenters and just kind of workforce development, I love this field. Workforce development in general are so willing to share information. And so all of our presenters always leave their contact information. So if it's something on this 30 minutes of excellence that you want further detail on, our presenters are so open and so gracious with sharing their information. So this is another opportunity for you to come on and see what NAWDP has to offer as far as our 30 minutes of excellence. We also have a NAWDP YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel is archived. So for about 2 years now. So you can go back and look at any 30 minutes of excellence over the last 2 years. Just go to go to youtube.com and type in NAWDP, and it will give you all of the 30 minutes of excellence sessions that we've done. Another opportunity that we will have coming up this year is going to be our fiscal management virtual academy. So if you are in the grants management or fiscal management or WIOA, we will have this coming up as well. So again, stay connected to the NAWDP website. Workforce GPS. So when I asked the question earlier of how many people are on Workforce GPS, most people said yes. But this is another great resource, and I'm going to click on. I'm actually going to go to the website here if it lets me. Oh, yay! So is everybody able to see my screen? If you can just give me a thumbs up. Sometimes when you change, it doesn't change. Okay, so If you have never been to the Workforce GPS website before, this is just a plethora of information for anything workforce development related. So if your learning objective, for instance, is we'll say youth program. If you work with youth and you want to learn more, your learning goal is to develop your summer youth program. We're going to say youth summer programs. You can just type that into the search box and you are going to have just different training opportunities to come up. So it may be research that comes up. So, and you'll see it here to the right, the type of training or learning opportunity it is. So this is either research or report. And so if you just click on it, and then it'll give you like promise and practices, major findings. If you're more of a visual learner, they also have webinars. So innovative programs, promising practices for Indian and Native American summer youth. So you have just different resources here, and we all have different we kind of have different learning styles. So some people are more auditory, some people like visual, some people really like those webinar type opportunities. So Workforce GPS has, I think, over the last I heard was over 10,000 different resources. And I also want to just bring your attention to a collaborative that NAWDP is a part of. So if you click on communities here on the Workforce GPS page and go to Next Level Now. So this is a collaboration that NAWDP is a part of. So we have 5 focus areas that we focus on as a part of this collaborative, and we do different uh, TA products, including webinars, including reports. And I do want to bring your attention to a webinar that we have coming up. Again, this webinar is free, and it is on incorporating entrepreneur skills into your workforce development program. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this into our chat box here. Okay, and it looks like I see a couple of people saying that they can't see the slides. So you can't see the Workforce GPS site. So I am going to stop sharing my screen here, and I'm just going to come back in. Okay. So I did put it into the chat. So if you're interested in registering for that upcoming webinar, it will be on, let's see, let me make sure I'm putting this into the chat to everyone. It is going to be on this upcoming Tuesday. Okay. So I want to talk a little bit about really making the most of online opportunities. And so that really starts with knowing your learning style. So I'll put another quick poll here. I'm going to put a poll up, and I just want you to think about what your learning style is. Give me one moment. We're going to think about what our learning styles is. Okay. So if you're able to see the poll here, think about what your learning style is. So are you a visual learner, meaning that you like to see things? Are you an auditory learner? Do you like to read and write? Or are you a kinesthetic learner, meaning you like that hands-on learning? So when we're thinking about making the best of our learning opportunities, we want to start with really knowing what our learning styles are. So if you want to answer that poll, I'll give you just a couple more seconds. Think about what your learning styles are. Great participation. I'm always excited about people participating. Right, here we go. About half of you are visual learners. So when you think about visual learners, that's really, thinking about that face-to-face or webinars or things where you can actually see the PowerPoint type slides. So those are visual learners. Your auditory learners, those are going to be more like this is where your podcasts are going to come in. right? So if you're an auditory learner, you may think of, okay, maybe I need to find some podcasts because I really like listening. That's how I learn is listening to things. Read or write. So reading and writing, and you could be a combination of these, by the way, but reading or writing, this may be for people who love to take notes or people who like to read articles. This may be your learning style. And then kinesthetic, these is really when an activity is associated with your learning. So when you're thinking about your learning plan, it's also good to really think about what your learning style is. So for instance, my learning style is more visual. I like to see things. So for me, podcasts are really, I don't really pay attention to it if I don't have something to look at. I'm not paying attention to what's being said. So think about that when you are thinking about your learning plan. So when we're thinking about making the best of opportunities, the first thing I would say is to prepare for that learning opportunity. That means to know who the speaker is. Where does the speaker work? What are some of their background? You can go to LinkedIn or you can go and maybe read a bio of what the speaker is, who the speaker is. So just be prepared for that online opportunity. And then also give the training your full attention. So it's really easy, especially on webinars. That's why I love the participation. I love doing polls because it's really listening. Especially if you have your cameras off and I see the black boxes, so you really never know. But I would, except for Anna. Hey, Anna. Absolutely, one of my top when I'm thinking of making the most of your learning opportunity is to give the training your full attention. So sometimes we go into webinars and we're multitasking, right? Like we may have our cell phone here and somebody's walking into our office. So as much as you can, get into a quiet place or a separated place and give that training your full attention. Participate in the training. So whether that's asking questions, taking surveys, networking. So somebody in the chat, she was able or they were able to put information for Anna to use. So participate in those learning opportunities. Take notes. So we can always sit back and spend 30 minutes to an hour of our time getting that information in, but how much of that are you going to retain? So if you have, I always say grab a paper pencil or your electronic device. And not everybody uses paper pencil like me, but grab those devices and take notes. Develop, hi Brenda, develop follow-up action steps. Use this time to really expand your network. So you remember that network is going to go above just the people that you know. So it's going to go above to people that you just come in contact with, who you can also get information and learning opportunities from. It's also really important if you have additional questions, don't feel free to reach out to the presenters. We love that, right? Because first of all, it means that our training was successful if you're reaching out and actually asking questions. But we put our information, our contact information at the end because we want you to reach out and ask questions if needed. So when you're thinking about making the best of that online opportunity, make sure if you have additional questions that you follow up. And then lastly, I would say if needed, review the content. So everything that I've said here today, like I said, it'll be archived on our YouTube page and I'm going to send you out a link. So you have the opportunity to go through it again. So if you did get sidetracked for 5 or 10 minutes, you can definitely go through it again. And I would encourage you to use that strategy for all of your online opportunities. Another great learning opportunity is always going to be attending a conference because I feel like not only are you attending a conference getting that information, but you're also able to network. That's one of the great things about our NAWDP conferences is those networking opportunities. So I do want to just say that our upcoming conference is going to be our 40th conference. We're so excited about it. It's going to be in San Antonio. It's going to be May 20th through the 22nd. And our agenda for that will be coming out in mid-February. So definitely stay connected to us on that. But we have our annual conference in August. We're going to have a business services academy. This is specific for workforce professionals who work with businesses and do those business services. So we'll have that academy coming up. It's going to be in person in August, and it's going to be in Baltimore, Maryland. And then I know somebody was on earlier from, or hopefully still on from Phoenix. So our NAWDP Youth Symposium, this is really for our workforce professionals who work with that 16 to 24-year-old population. We do have that coming up in November. So all of this information is on our website. And remember, not only are you learning, but you have the opportunity to network as well. When you're thinking about conference attendance, I remember when I first started going to conferences, I would just show up at the conference, and I would go to whatever workshop had an open seat. Like I really didn't have I was just, kind of just going wherever there was open seat. If I walked by a room, I'm like, oh, I can sit there. Had no idea what the workshop was about. That was early on in my career. I always tell people, when you go to conferences, go ahead and review the agenda ahead of time. It's always good to have a plan. So again, for our annual conferences, our agenda usually comes out, 2 or 3 months ahead of time of the conference. So go through that agenda. Think about again what your learning objectives are. So for instance, if you want to learn more about AI, go through that agenda and highlight those workshops that are about AI. So just a plug for our NAWDP annual conference, AI is going to be one of our learning tracks because we've identified that as a goal. So that is going to be a learning track. So for every single workshop round, we will have we'll have a workshop that is specifically focused on AI. Plan which workshops you want to attend. So go ahead and plan it up front. Again, be intentional, be proactive. I'd advise against just showing up and just going into a room where your friends are going. Sometimes when you come with a group of people, we all go to the same workshop, but be very specific about what your goals are. Again, reach out to the presenters. So once that workshop is over, if you still have some questions that you maybe didn't get to ask during the workshop, the presenters love for you to come up to them and get more information. So go up to those presenters, reach out to those presenters if there's something that they can do. And again, remember we talked about this is building your network. Network with other people in the workshop because guess what? If they are in that workshop, there's something that they want to learn that you also want to learn. And maybe some things that they already know that they can tell you. So when you're networking in those workshops, that this is another way to start building your network. Um, m Most conferences are also gonna have, and definitely NAWDP does, but most conferences are also gonna have exhibitors. So go and reach out to those exhibitors. So they have some really cool merch, but in addition to that merchandise, visit the exhibit booth, ask questions. Is there software? Is there something that they have, a product that they have that can help you towards your learning goals? And then once that conference is over, don't take all of that wonderful information and just have it on a paper pencil. Like, really write a plan of how you're going to implement what you've learned at that conference. Mentorship and networking is a great way to also develop your learning plan. So if you know somebody who is doing something great in the area that you want to learn, reach out and ask them to be a mentor you through a specific task. So one friend I had, she had gotten a new position, and as a part of this position, she was going to be in charge of fundraising and development, and she'd never done that before. She's done a lot in her career, but she'd never done fundraising and development. And so what she did was she found a somebody in her network who did fundraising and development. She reached out to that person, and that person helped mentor her those first 6 months on her job. So if there's somebody that you know that's in your network that's doing something really well, reach out to them as a part of being in your network. Okay, so as I'm getting ready to kind of wrap us up here, right? I do want to also just talk about our certification that we have here at NAWDP. It is the Certified Workforce Development Professional credential. And we offer that through a couple of different ways. You can either go through one of our training providers, or there is a 100 question exam that you can take. And the competencies are listed here. So there are 5 competencies, and they are applicable to anybody in workforce development. So those are customer service, diversity and workforce development, labor market information and intelligence, principles of communication, and workforce development structures, policies, and programs. So those are our 5 competencies of the CWDP. I'm not going to go into much detail I'm gonna go back and read the comments, and they're kind of coming in. I haven't read, but I'm gonna go back and read all of them, I promise. I'm not gonna go into much detail on the certification because what I'm going to do is put a link in to the chat box here. Let's see. I'm gonna copy this. So let me stop sharing here. All right, do we hear music? We don't want to hear music. Okay. All right, so if you are interested in the CWDP, I'm going to put this into our chat box so that you can go and listen to this as well once we're done here. So I'm going to go back to my. All right, and just want to make sure that you can all see my screen. So if somebody can give me a thumbs up. Perfect. Because you never know what's going through on the other side, honestly. Just keeping your fingers crossed. Okay, so here is our for YouTube. If you are interested in becoming a CWDP, if you are not already, you can definitely go and watch this. And again, this is on our YouTube page. Okay, and so back here. So as we're talking about learning plans and all of the things you want to do with your learning plan, I would always encourage you to keep a log of your training, the training that you've done. If you are a current CWDP, you can keep that log for recertification. So once you get that certification, that CWDP certification, you do have a 3-year period to then do an additional 60 hours of professional development. And so you can really do that professional development on your own terms. It does have to be specific to one of those competencies that we looked at earlier. Okay. And so you can do that by articles, reading articles. You can do that by podcasts, by 30 minutes of excellence. So whatever your professional development learning plan is, you can use those hours to recertify for the CWDP. Just keep in mind, it does have to meet one of those specific core competencies within CWDP. Okay, and so Olivia says professional development credits for classes we take through NAWDP are not tracked through NAWDP. We just tracking on your own. That is correct. So when you apply for recertification, you'll receive a form where you're able to log in those hours. So you definitely want to keep up with those. And so when I do my recertification, I have like an ongoing spreadsheet that I have. And so anytime I do a training, or anytime I attend a training or a conference, I log that into my spreadsheet. So when it's time to do my recertification, I can just bring up my spreadsheet and translate all of that into our NAWDP form. Okay, so as a wrap up here, so I do want to go back to the chat box because I know a lot of different things were coming in. Let me make sure I'm answering questions. Let's see. Okay. It looks like so Denise said, would you believe Grammarly is AI? We may already be using AI for resume. And so it was a question, what's an example of using AI? Oh, so you are okay. So I'm reading the whole chat and it's been answered. The question's been asked and answered. So I just want to make sure that I'm not missing anything here. Professional. Okay, I think I have all the questions. Anna says, is there a specific list of compliant trainers or training opportunities? Anna, yes, it is. You can go to NAWDP website and click on certification. We do have 4 training providers. NAWDP is not a training provider. We issue the certification. We don't do the training, but all those 4 training providers are on our website and it is under certification. Okay. And then Jody says, can I provide a sample of the spreadsheet that I use? So it's really just a spreadsheet. I can provide you with what our NAWDP log looks like. And it's really just what the training was, where you took the training. So if it was at a conference and who the presenter was and the dates. So pretty much those are the things that we need for recertification. But when I send out the recording, I'll also send out a sample of that, Valerie. Okay. So as we're wrapping up here, I just want you to, well, first of all, thank you for staying with me to the end here. But I want you to just think, what are your learning goals? Remember, we talked about what that overall learning goals are and what your smaller goals are. What resources are available? So be proactive, whether that's a conference, a podcast, whether that is participating in online opportunities, building that network. Think about the resources that are available and how the people in your network can help you achieve your learning goals. Don't discount your network. So if there's somebody who you know that is doing something really well, reach out to them. And then once you learn something, always say share it with others. So you could come on and you could do one of our 30 minutes of excellence with NADA. Again, we love that peer-to-peer learning. But I always know I mastered something when I can teach it to somebody else. So, as we said all that, if you want to type into the chat box, I was going to send us to breakout rooms, but we're kind of pressed for time here. So, instead of going to a breakout room, if you want to just type, if you want to, it's no pressure. If you want to type into the chat box, what's your learning goal and what is your motivation for that learning goal? If you want to type that in, what is your learning goal and what is your motivation for that learning goal? I would love to see it. And, sometimes when we put it out there, like, people really hold us accountable for it. So that's why I'm gonna tell you what my learning goal is. No, Naomi's to become workforce certified this year. And so, Naomi, I love that you said that because when you put it out there now, Naomi, I get to remind you of that every time I see you, that you want to be workforce certified. I will, and I will tell you what my goal is. So my learning goal for this year is I want to learn Canva. I have gotten so used to PowerPoint. I'm so good at PowerPoint. I can do it in my sleep. But I see Canva presentations and I think they are absolutely amazing. But I have not made that a learning goal. So I'm saying to you all here that my learning goal, one of my learning goals for this year is to learn Canva so that by the end of this year, when you come back to a webinar that I'm facilitating, it may be Canva. So Eric says I love using Canva for mod social media. So I love seeing the Canva presentations, but I have been so in my box of PowerPoint and everything I've always done that I have not pushed myself outside of that. So I'm just going to look at a couple of the learning objectives. So Anna says how to build community partnerships, get your career centers off the ground without community partners. Absolutely. Those partnership opportunities are critical. We cannot do this in silos, right? We have to have our partners and our resources. And yeah, so that is a great learning goal. I would offer up Anna Workforce GPS has some great trainings. Actually, one of the trainings that we did through that grant that I talked about last year was on community partnerships or building partnerships. So I would go to Workforce GPS and see what is available there. So Denise says two main learning goals: creating a pre-apprenticeship program, so you have to learn about the construction industry, and so you can create a good program. The goal is to get more local industry to participate in our internship program. What an awesome goal! Amazing, Denise. Please use the Center of Excellence as a resource as well. So, like I said, NAWDP is a part of the Center of Excellence, and we provide technical assistance for registered apprenticeship. Sherelle says the goal is to earn a CWDP. Um, so Sherelle, now that I know your name and I know that's what you want, anytime I see you or hear your name or see you on a webinar, I'm going to ask you about that CWDP. You will get a copy of this recording, absolutely. All right, and Brenda says to obtain her 60 hours for her recertification. Awesome. You all have been absolutely amazing. I love participation. I love people coming on with so much energy and so many questions. So I hope you found this helpful. I do want to make sure that you know how to stay connected with NAWDP. So of course, it's our NAWDP website. It's www.nawdp.org. We are also on it's not Twitter. We're on X, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So remember, you can go subscribe to our YouTube channel. And any of the 30 minutes of excellence, you will get that to your YouTube feed as well. So I see a couple of things coming here. Sharita says finish certifications. Sherelle, thank you. pronouncing her name correctly, your name correctly. Is there a link for the Center of Excellence? So Denise, if you go to our website, NAWDP.org, and click on initiatives, click on initiatives, and then that will be the link for the 30 minutes, or not 30, for the register for the Center of Excellence. I'm sorry. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I am Kim@NAWDP.org. I'm going to put that into the chat box. So if you cannot find it, definitely reach out to me. And for anybody else, if you have any questions, please reach out to me as well. I'm available. I was gonna say I'm always available, but if you email, I'll email you back. Maybe not right away, but I'm definitely gonna email you back. Here is my email address is kim@nawdp.org. Again, thank you all so much. It has been a wonderful time with you all. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Thursday. I hope you have thought about some learning goals that you want to pursue 2024 and that you actually put that plan into place. All right. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your day.